Hey, what's up, everyone? Good morning, good afternoon, evening, whatever time of day you're deciding to trudge through these videos. At this point, hopefully, you've gone through the Canvas intro, the About Me intro, the overall sort of expectations for this course. And so, what I want to do with this quick video is give an introduction to Earth science as a whole, and Earth system science, excuse me, as a whole. Hopefully, we know what Earth science is. But Earth system science, right? Because this class is called Earth Systems 1 or Earth 400, right? So kind of give you just a general, very quick little overview of what that exactly entails. So first I want you to think about what do you mean? Like, what is Earth systems? So maybe pause, think about it. What could this class mean? And then here we go. All right, so what is Earth system science? So Earth, it's a really like a new holistic sort of approach to studying Earth as a whole system of many interacting parts. Like oftentimes I think like when I was in school, not that much long ago, but when I was in school, like we were really just considering everything as its own separate thing, knowing that they interacted, but like not really combining this idea that everybody has a part to play in this. Like I always learned like the atmosphere is just the atmosphere, like atmosphere, ammo, and then like a little bit of ocean in my own background career. But we have to really remember that the Earth is all of these things. It's the ocean, the atmo, the continents, the animals, the lakes and rivers, the soils, the plants, the ice. Whew, so much, right? And there's also, wee little bit of humanity in here as well, right? Which is also adding into the commotion of things. So it makes it, I don't know, really quite fascinating, I think, to me. So, so that's kind of our initial jam here. So here's like a nice little visual of this, right? So our beautiful planet as a whole, like this quintessential idea of our blue planet, which of course consists of our air and water and life and land. That's kind of like our main sort of things here. And we live within the land and air part of it. We are surrounded by water and surrounded by life. And all of it is needed for the planet that we know and love today. Can the planet itself exist without one of these systems? Absolutely. She certainly has before, right? She didn't have the atmosphere she has now. The water system that's here now was different in the birth of her life. Planet sure as hell didn't even have life on it for a long time. You know what I mean? So like the planet as a rock, as a system, has been here without one or all of these before, or without one or a couple of these before. But how we know it now is this really quite lovely space. And so there's, another way to look at this as well is like, including these arrows, right? And like what impacts, for example, the atmosphere. The biosphere has a huge impact on this. Why do we care about the biosphere and the atmosphere? Well, who gives us oxygen? It's not each other, right? Plants generally give us oxygen, which you could also argue that the hydrosphere is actually more so important for our atmosphere's oxygen because plankton live in the hydrosphere, and plankton are actually the lungs of the planet, not the Amazon rainforest, which we are always told that it is. She's only lungs for herself. Just kidding, in a sense. But no, for real, more and more, it's suggested more and more that everything created within the Amazon is recycled within the Amazon. So it's more of like its own circular system, which is pretty interesting. And then, of course, things like the lithosphere impacts the biosphere. The biosphere grows on top of the lithosphere, and lithosphere into the atmosphere and stuff. I encourage you to pause this and kind of think of more examples and more ways that these various spheres interact with each other. And like, how can they impact each other in maybe ways that aren't so in your face, if that makes sense. So try to think outside the box a little bit with these ideas. And then, of course, a big important part in this is the water cycle. Amazing, right? So we're mostly water. The planet's surface is about 71% water. That's not including everything else that comes underneath that and how much of our planet truly is water. Like if you were to compare the average depth of the oceans, which is about 4,000 meters, to the average height of the continents, which is only about 800 meters, we have a hell of a lot more water than we do land, and especially like in a height different sort of way. Anyway, the water cycle is very, very important. We here in California obviously know that very intimately because we love to have droughts. Not because it's part of our personalities, but it's because, you know, it just happens here climatologically speaking. So water is very precious to us, especially with our drinking water as well. We are super blessed here in California to be blessed with drinking water coming off the Sierra Nevadas, as opposed to pumping up groundwater from water that's God knows how old, and how much they actually have to process that water before it's drinkable. Live in Tucson, Arizona, and tell me that water tastes delicious. You would be lying. It's gross. But it's just a really important idea to recall the water cycle and how truly important it is to us, and how many different spheres are involved in this process. The hydrosphere, the atmosphere, the lithosphere, transpiration, evaporation, soils. Everybody is connected, right? That's the big take home point, I think, with this, is every little single thing is connected to each other in some way, shape, form, or another. And we all came from the same place. We'll all return to the same place. It's just when, you know? Similarly, we have the carbon cycle as well, very, very similar to the water cycle, just obviously a different molecule and different processes going from one sphere to the other. And I encourage you again to maybe pause the video and have a deeper look at this, maybe try to understand some of these interactions a bit better, and really try to think about these ideas a bit more as well. And we'll dive into these, of course, throughout the course, but it's good to like reintroduce these ideas now, and maybe you're super familiar with these anyway, but we'll dive further into these as we continue on. Last thing I want to mention here is, talk about why is this class important? Well, many of the world's most challenging problems lie, of course, at the intersection of these different systems. Big example here, of course, is the California wildfires. We have the biosphere, which is on fire, thanks to, in some cases, the anthrosphere, or humanity coming into play, speaking of the park fire, which then inputs matter into the atmosphere, which can then be rained down further on into the hydrosphere, which can then impact the biosphere and living things there, right? So, again, all these things are super interconnected. I also think it gives everyone in Earth Sciences major an understanding of different systems. So it kind of gives you a more in-depth version or in-depth look into the atmosphere and the oceans, which is generally what this class will focus on. It's what my specialties are in, and we'll definitely hammer in on climate change as well. And what we also hope to do is to build skills to use through your degree progress. I'm going to try to really help within this as well. Things like journal article reading. Just combine those two words, journal. I like that better, actually. Journal article reading, reading weather maps. Even though I know weather isn't really fully part of our program necessarily, it's still really important, I think. But I'm also biased in that, of course. But also really just building skills and knowledge for your career path. And this will be really prominent as well when we get to your final project. So instead of a final exam, you have a final project, and you'll really get to utilize your own major and your own world experiences to help share with us something within that. So more details of the project to come. I like changing things up every semester and kind of making things better from when they were a previous semester. So I'm always making these little tinkers and changes and adjustments. So that's kind of a real quick crash course on kind of what this class is about and what you can sort of expect within that. I hope to have so much fun with you this semester, and if things change as we go along, that will happen, especially with current weather events. We're expected to have a very active tropical cyclone season. So because of that, actually, is why one of your assignments before I come back is to read an article about tropical cyclone and climate change. So we'll see, we'll really tinker and dive into these ideas throughout the semester and not really specifically in like one particular unit, but it'll be kind of a fun thing that we'll explore the whole time. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns on anything, please reach out and let me know. I'm happy to address them as best as I can. So thank you so much. Talk to you soon.